Part 1. The Desperate Call. The sky burned red over the Volani homeworld. It had burned for 3 long cycles now. The Krath swarm had come from the dark spaces between stars, hungry and endless, and they had not stopped eating. Elder Torum stood at the great window of the High Council chamber. His pale blue skin looked gray in the dim emergency lighting. Behind him, the other council members argued in tired, frightened voices. They had been arguing for days. Nothing changed. Nothing helped. The Volani were a peaceful people. They had soft bodies and large, gentle eyes. They ate only plants. They had never built weapons of war. For 10,000 years, they had lived in harmony with the universe. They believed that kindness and cooperation could solve all problems. The Krath did not believe in kindness. The Krath only believed in hunger. Councillor Nevi walked slowly to stand beside Torim. She was young for a council member, barely 200 years old. Her voice was quiet when she spoke. "We have lost contact with the outer colonies," she said. "All of them. 12 billion Volani. Gone." Torim closed his eyes. He could not cry any more. He had used all his tears in the first cycle. "Our fleet is destroyed," Nevi continued. "The Galactic Union will not help us. They say the Krath are too dangerous. They have closed their borders and left us to die." "I know," Torim said. "There is one option we have not tried." Torim turned to look at her. Something in her voice made his stomach feel cold. "The humans," Nevi said. The word fell into the room like a stone into still water. The arguing council members went silent. Every eye turned to look at Nevi with horror. "You cannot be serious," said Councillor Bram. He was the oldest among them, and his hands shook as he spoke. "The humans are monsters. Everyone knows this. They come from a death world, a planet so dangerous that it kills most species that try to live there. And they did not just survive. They conquered it. They are predators, Nevi. Killers. They are also the only species that has ever defeated a swarm invasion," Nevi said calmly. "The Dreth swarm attacked a human colony world 40 years ago. 200 million insects against 50,000 humans. Do you know what happened?" No one answered. "The humans won. Not just won. They followed the swarm back to their home system. They burned every planet, every moon, every ship. The Dreth swarm is extinct now. The humans erased them from the universe." The council members looked at each other with fear in their eyes. "That is exactly why we should not contact them," Bram said. "What if they decide we are also a threat? What if they erase us too?" "The Krath are already erasing us," Nevi said. Her voice grew harder. "Every hour more of our people die. Every day we lose more worlds. We can fear the humans, or we can fear extinction. I choose to fear extinction." Torim looked back out the window. In the distance, he could see the flashes of light where the last Volani defense ships fought against the endless Krath swarm. Those ships would be gone by morning. Then there would be nothing between the swarm and the civilian population. "Send the message," he said. Bram grabbed his arm. "Elder, please. Think about what you are doing. You are inviting death into our home." "Death is already in our home," Torim said softly. "Perhaps the humans will be kind. Perhaps they will help us. And if they choose to destroy us instead—" He paused. "At least it will be quick. The Krath will eat us slowly. They will keep us alive in their breeding chambers. They will use our bodies to feed their young. I have seen the images from the fallen colonies. I will not let that happen to our children." The council voted. It was not unanimous, but it did not need to be. The majority chose hope over fear. Nevi sent the distress signal herself. She aimed it at the nearest human colony, a small world called New Sol. The message was simple. "We are the Volani. We are dying. Please help us." She did not expect an answer. The humans were known for keeping to themselves. They rarely involved themselves in galactic affairs. Many species believed they were simply waiting, watching, letting the other races weaken themselves through war and conflict. The response came in less than 1 hour. Message received. Ship dispatched. Arrival in 6 hours. Hold your position. That was all. No questions, no demands, no negotiations. Just a simple promise of help. Torium did not know if he should feel relieved or terrified. 6 hours later, the human ship arrived. It came out of faster-than-light travel like a knife cutting through silk. It was small, much smaller than Torium had expected. Volani warships were massive things, beautiful and elegant. This human vessel was compact, dark and ugly. It looked like a clenched fist. The ship docked at the orbital station. Torium, Nevi, and a group of guards waited at the airlock. The guards carried ceremonial weapons. They had never been used in actual combat. The airlock opened with a soft hiss. 3 figures stepped out. The first was a male human. He was not tall, not short. His black hair was cut close to his head. His eyes were dark and calm. He wore a simple gray uniform with no decorations. Behind him came a female human. She was smaller, with long black hair tied back from her face. She carried a bag over one shoulder and looked around the station with curious eyes. The third was another male, bigger than the first. His arms were thick with muscle. A long scar ran down the left side of his face. He did not smile. The first human stepped forward and extended his hand. Torium had studied human customs. He knew this gesture. He reached out and took the human's hand. The human's grip was warm and firm. His smile seemed genuine. "I am Captain Park Jun," he said. "This is Lieutenant Kim Hana and Sergeant Lee Tae. We heard you needed help." Torium looked at the 3 humans. 3. Just 3. Against millions of Krath. His hope began to die in his chest, but then he looked into Captain Jun's eyes, and he saw something there. Something old, something patient, something that had looked into the dark many times before, and had never blinked. "Yes," Torium said quietly. "We need help very much." Jun smiled again. It was a kind smile, a warm smile. "Then let us see what we can do." Part 2. The assessment General Kalos had commanded the Volani fleet for 60 years. He had seen many things in that time. He had watched stars die. He had traveled to the edges of known space. He had met beings so strange that his mind could barely understand them. But he had never felt fear like this. He stood in the command center of the orbital station, surrounded by screens showing the destruction of his people. Red dots covered the map like a disease. Each dot was a Krath swarm. Each dot meant death. The 3 humans stood before him. They were so small, so fragile-looking. Their skin was soft, their bones were thin. A single Krath warrior could tear them apart in seconds. And yet the galaxy feared them. And yet entire species had been erased by creatures just like these. Kalos began his briefing. His voice was steady, but his heart beat fast in his chest. "The Krath swarm entered our system 14 months ago. We believe they came from the outer darkness, beyond the edge of mapped space. They are insectoid, hive mind. They share one consciousness across millions of bodies." He touched the screen, and images appeared. The Krath were terrible to look at. 8 legs, 4 arms, jaws that could bite through metal, eyes that held no thought, no mercy, no soul. They do not negotiate. They do not communicate. They only consume. They eat everything. Plants, animals, people. They take the organic matter and use it to breed more of themselves. One Krath can become 100 in a single month if given enough food. Lieutenant Hana leaned forward. Her eyes were bright with interest, not fear. "What is their biological structure? Carbon-based? Silicon?" Kalos blinked. He had expected many questions. This was not one of them. "Carbon-based," he said. "Similar to most known species. They breathe oxygen. They need water. Their blood is copper-based like some species on your own world." Hana nodded and made notes on a small device. "Do you have tissue samples? DNA sequences? Autopsy reports?" "We have some. Most of our scientists who studied them are dead now." "I will need everything you have," Hana said. "Every piece of data, every sample, every report." Kalos looked at Captain June. The human captain stood with his hands behind his back, watching and listening. His face showed nothing. "May I ask what you plan to do?" Kalos said. "With respect, you have 3 soldiers. We had 3 million. We lost." "You did not lose because you lacked soldiers," June said quietly. "You lost because you do not know how to fight a war of extinction. Your people fight to survive. The Krath fight to consume. There is a difference. And humans? How do humans fight?" June was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "We fight to end things." The words hung in the air like smoke. Sergeant Tay spoke for the first time. His voice was deep and rough. "I want to see your soldiers, the ones still alive." Kalos took the big human to the barracks level. The Villani soldiers there were young, most of them barely adults. They had soft eyes and gentle faces. Many of them were crying. Some held pictures of family members who had died in the swarm attacks. Tay walked among them slowly. He looked at their weapons. He looked at their armor. He looked at their faces. "They are not warriors," he said to Kalos. "They are children with guns." "We are not a warrior race," Kalos said, and there was shame in his voice. "We never needed to be. For 10,000 years we lived in peace. We had no enemies. We had no need for soldiers. These young ones volunteered when the Krath came. They wanted to protect their families." Tay nodded slowly. He walked to a young Villani who sat alone in a corner. The young one was shaking. Tears ran down his pale blue cheeks. Tay sat down beside him. The Villani flinched away, terrified. Humans were monsters. Everyone knew this. But Tay did not hurt him. Tay simply sat there, quiet and still. "What is your name?" Tay asked. "Pel," the young Villani whispered. "Pel, do you have family?" "A sister. She is in the refugee camp below. Our parents were on the 3rd colony. They are gone now." Tay nodded. "Then you have something to protect. That is good. That is the most important thing." Pel looked up at the big human with confusion. "I am scared. I cannot fight. I tried. I froze. I could not move. My friends died because I could not move." "That is normal," Tay said. "Fear is normal. Every soldier feels fear. The ones who say they do not feel fear are liars or fools." "Then how do you fight? How do humans fight when you are afraid?" Tay was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "We do not fight to win. We fight for the people behind us. When I go into battle, I do not think about victory. I think about my sister, my mother, my friends. I think about what will happen to them if I fail. And then the fear does not matter anymore. The fear becomes fuel." Pel stared at him. "Is that true?" "It is true." High above, in the command center, Captain June contacted Earth Command on a secure channel. Nevi had followed him secretly. She hid behind a console and listened. June's voice was flat, professional. "This is Captain Park June, Colonial Response Unit 7. I am on site at the Villani homeworld. Enemy is bioorganic swarm, hive mind structure, approximately 40 million active units with reproductive capability. Native population is pacifist, non-combat capable. Civilian casualties estimated at 12 billion and climbing." There was static. Then a voice responded. "Acknowledged, Unit 7. Assessment? Standard xenocide prevention protocol. Native species is viable for protection. Enemy species shows no capacity for negotiation or coexistence. Requesting clearance for Solution 7. A pause. Then, "Clearance granted. Keep civilian exposure minimal. Report when complete." "Understood. June out." The channel closed. Nevi stayed hidden, her heart's pounding. She did not understand the words. Xenocide prevention, solution 7. They sounded cold, clinical, like medical terms for a disease. But something in June's voice had changed when he spoke those words. Something old had woken up behind his eyes, something that made Nevi's instincts scream at her to run. She did not run. She stayed hidden. She watched. And she began to understand why the galaxy feared humans. It was not because they were cruel. It was not because they were evil. It was because they were efficient. Part 3. The Revelation. 3 days passed. The Krath swarm grew closer. The last defense ships burned in the darkness of space. Death was coming. But the humans did not seem worried. They worked, quietly, patiently, like they had all the time in the universe. Lieutenant Hana had taken over the main science laboratory. She worked with the Vallani scientists who remained, studying the Krath samples. She was kind to them. She smiled often. She explained things in simple words when they did not understand. Old Dr. Venn had been a biologist for 300 years. He had seen many things, but he had never seen anyone work like Hana. She did not sleep. She barely ate. Her fingers moved across the equipment with speed that made Venn dizzy. She read data faster than the computers could display it. She made connections that Venn could not follow. "Your species," Venn said one night, watching her work. "You are very intelligent." Hana laughed softly. "Not more than others. We are just very focused. When we have a problem, we do not stop until we solve it. It is a survival trait." "Our world was very dangerous. We had to think fast or die." "What was your world like?" Hana was quiet for a moment. Her hands kept working, mixing compounds, adjusting machines. "Earth was beautiful," she said, "but it was trying to kill us every moment. Predators that could eat us, plants that could poison us, weather that could freeze us or burn us, diseases that could kill millions in weeks. The ground would shake and destroy our cities. The water would rise and drown our lands. The air itself would sometimes become poison." Venn stared at her. "How did you survive?" "We adapted. We learned. We remembered." Hana looked up at him with her dark human eyes. "Every generation taught the next what had killed them. We kept records of every death, every danger, every mistake. We built tools, we built weapons, we built walls. And when walls were not enough, we destroyed what threatened us." She returned to her work. In her hands, she held a small vial of clear liquid. "What is that?" Venn asked. "A solution," Hana said simply. In the refugee camps below the orbital station, Sergeant Tay worked with the surviving Vallani soldiers. He did not teach them to fight. The Vallani were not built for combat. Their bodies were too soft. Their reflexes were too slow. Instead, Tay taught them to survive. "Your job is not to kill Krath," he told them. "Your job is to protect your people. When the battle starts, you will not be fighting. You will be guiding civilians to safety. You will be carrying children. You will be helping the wounded. Do you understand?" The young soldiers nodded. There was relief in their eyes. They had been afraid that the human would force them into battle. They had been afraid of becoming killers. "You are not cowards," Tay said, as if reading their thoughts. "You are guardians. There is no shame in this. Every army needs guardians. Every army needs people who protect while others fight. This is your purpose. Accept it. Be proud of it." Young Pell stepped forward. He had stopped crying. There was something new in his eyes. Not courage exactly. Something quieter. Purpose. "Will you fight?" Pell asked. "Will you fight the Krath?" Tay looked at him for a long moment. "Yes." "Alone? Just the 3 of you?" "Yes." "How? There are millions of them." Tay smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who knew something terrible. "We will do what humans have always done," he said. "We will find a way." That night, Elder Torum found Captain June standing alone on an observation deck. The human was looking out at the stars. His face was calm, peaceful even. Torum walked slowly to stand beside him. "May I ask you something?" Torum said. "Of course." "Why do the other species fear humans so much? I have heard stories, terrible stories, but you seem so kind. Your people have been nothing but kind to us." June did not answer immediately. He kept looking at the stars. When he finally spoke, his voice was soft. "We are kind," he said. "We are also monsters. Both things are true." "I do not understand." June turned to face him. "Do you know what makes a predator, Elder? It is not size, it is not strength, it is not speed, it is the willingness to kill. The ability to look at another living thing and decide that it must die. Most species lose this ability when they become civilized. They build laws and rules to control their violent instincts. They forget how to kill." He paused. "Humans never forgot." Torim felt cold. "But you are civilized. You have laws. You have rules." "Yes. We have laws that tell us when we can kill. We have rules that tell us who we can kill. But the ability itself, the instinct, the willingness, it never went away. It is still there, inside every human, sleeping, waiting. Waiting for what? For permission, for a reason, for something to threaten the things we love." June's eyes grew harder. "The Krath are predators. They look at your people and see food. They cannot imagine that food might fight back. They cannot imagine that there is something in the galaxy more dangerous than them." "And humans are more dangerous?" June smiled. It was a cold smile. "We come from a world where everything was dangerous. We survived by becoming the most dangerous thing on that world. Then we went to the stars, and we found other dangerous things. Predators, swarms, conquerors, things that thought they were the top of the food chain." He looked back at the stars. "We taught them they were wrong." Torum was silent for a long time. Finally, he asked the question that burned in his mind. "What will you do to the Krath?" June did not hesitate. "We will end them." "End them? You mean defeat them?" "No, I mean end them. Every Krath, every hive, every queen, every egg. When we are finished, there will be no Krath. Anywhere. Ever again." Tareem's throat was dry. "That is genocide." "Yes," June said calmly. "It is. The Krath cannot change. They cannot learn. They cannot coexist. Their biology does not allow for peace. Every moment they exist, they are consuming another species, another world, another civilization. We will not defeat them. We will erase them, and the galaxy will be safer for it." He turned to Tareem. His eyes were not cruel. They were not angry. They were simply certain. "This is what humans do, Elder. We protect what we love by destroying what threatens it. Completely, permanently, without mercy." Tareem wanted to argue. He wanted to say that genocide was wrong, that all life had value, that there must be another way. But he thought about the 12 billion Vellani already dead. He thought about the children in the refugee camps. He thought about what the Krath would do to them if the humans failed. He said nothing. June put a hand on his shoulder. The touch was gentle, warm. "Sleep well, Elder. Tomorrow, we begin." Part 4. Solution 7. The morning came with fire in the sky. The Krath swarm had broken through the last orbital defenses. Millions of them descended toward the surface like a black rain. In the command center, General Kalos watched his screens with dead eyes. It was over. The Vellani had lost. His people would die screaming, consumed by the endless hunger of the swarm. Then Captain June walked into the room. "General," June said calmly, "please order all Vellani forces to fall back to the civilian shelters. No one engages the Krath. No one tries to fight. Your soldiers protect civilians. That is all. Kalos stared at him. You want us to retreat? To hide? They will find us. They will break through any shelter we build. No, June said. They will not. By tomorrow morning, there will be no Krath left to break through anything. How can you possibly... General. June's voice was quiet but heavy. I need you to trust me. Can you do that? Kalos looked into the human's eyes. He saw no fear there, no doubt. Only the calm certainty of a predator about to hunt. Yes, Kalos whispered. I trust you. Good. Protect your people. We will handle the rest. The three humans departed from the station in a small shuttle. It was unarmed, unarmored. It looked like a flying coffin heading into the mouth of death. Counselor Nevi watched from the observation deck. Beside her stood young Pell, who had refused to leave. They are going to die, Pell said. His voice was empty. No one can fight a swarm alone. Nevi did not answer. She remembered what she had heard. Solution 7. Clearance granted. She did not know what it meant, but she knew it was not a simple battle plan. Below, on the planet's surface, the Krath swarms spread like a disease. They consumed everything. Forests became empty fields. Cities became ruins. The screams of the dying filled the air like a terrible song. The human shuttle landed in the middle of Krath territory. Lieutenant Hana stepped out first. She carried a large bag over her shoulder. Inside were dozens of metal canisters, each filled with the clear liquid she had made in the laboratory. Sergeant Tay followed. He carried no bag. His hands were empty, but strapped across his back was a simple blade, an old human weapon that had not been used in warfare for thousands of years. Captain June came last. He carried a small device in his hand. He pressed a button and a holographic map appeared, showing the location of every Krath hive within 1,000 kilometers. Hana, June said. The primary hive is 40 kilometers northeast. Can you reach it? Yes. Tai, the queens are underground in the breeding chambers. The entrance is here. He pointed to a spot on the map. You will need to go deep. Tay nodded. How deep? 2 kilometers. Tay smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. I have gone deeper. I will draw their attention, June said. Create a distraction. Give you both time to work. Hana touched his arm. Be careful, June. I am always careful. She smiled at him, then turned and disappeared into the burning landscape. Tay nodded once at his captain, then ran toward the entrance to the underground chambers, his blade already in his hand. June stood alone in the middle of the destruction. He took a deep breath. Then he began to walk. The Krath found him within minutes. Hundreds of them, then thousands. They surrounded him, their jaws clicking, their many eyes staring with mindless hunger. June did not run. He did not hide. He walked toward them. The Krath attacked. What happened next would become legend among the Vallani. They watched from their shelters, from their cameras, from every screen that still worked. They saw a single human stand against thousands of monsters. June did not fight like a Vallani. He did not stand still and shoot. He did not form lines or strategies. He moved like water, like wind, like death itself. His hands were weapons. His body was a weapon. Every movement was precise, efficient, deadly. Krath fell before him like grass before a blade. He did not stop. He did not slow. He did not tire. For 3 hours, he fought alone against the swarm. For 3 hours, he held their attention while his team worked. Deep underground, Sergeant Tay reached the breeding chambers. The queens were there, massive creatures surrounded by eggs and larvae, the future of the Krath swarm. Tay looked at them with empty eyes. Then he began his work. His blade moved in the darkness. Queens screamed, eggs burst, larvae died before they could hatch. It was not a battle. It was a slaughter, and Tay did not hesitate, not once. In the primary hive, Lieutenant Hana found what she was looking for. The central nerve cluster, the place where the hive mind connected all Krath together. She opened her bag and removed the canisters. She worked quickly, efficiently, placing them in precise locations around the cluster. Then she opened them. The clear liquid turned to gas. The gas spread through the hive. It entered the nerve cluster. It spread through the hive-mind connection, reaching every Krath in the swarm. The Vallani watched on their screens as something impossible happened. The Krath stopped moving. All of them. Everywhere. At the same moment. They stopped fighting. They stopped consuming. They stopped living. The swarm died in waves. Millions of Krath collapsed where they stood, their bodies shutting down as the engineered pathogen destroyed their nervous systems. The hive mind that connected them became the weapon that killed them. Every signal that passed between them carried death. In the command center, General Kalos watched his screens change. The red dots were disappearing. Not slowly, not one by one, in massive groups, in entire regions. His voice shook. "What is happening?" Counselor Nevi answered. Her voice was barely a whisper. "They did not bring weapons of war," she said. "They brought extinction." By morning, it was over. 40 million Krath, dead, not defeated, not driven away, dead, every single one. The 3 humans returned to the orbital station as the sun rose over a silent world. Their clothes were torn. Their bodies were covered in Krath blood. They looked exhausted, but they were alive. Captain June walked to the observation deck where Torim and the council waited. His face was calm. His voice was steady. "It is done," he said simply. Torim looked at the screens. The red dots were gone. The skies were clear. The screaming had stopped. "How?" he asked. "Lieutenant Hana created a pathogen targeting Krath biology specifically. It spreads through their hive-mind connection. Once introduced, it cannot be stopped. Every Krath connected to the hive dies within hours. And the ones not connected? There are no Krath that are not connected. The hive mind is their strength and their weakness. We simply used it against them." Torim felt sick, not because the Krath were dead. He could not mourn the creatures that had killed 12 billion of his people. He felt sick because he finally understood what humans were. They did not fight wars. They did not have battles. They found weaknesses, and they exploited them until nothing remained. They turned their enemies' strengths into weapons of destruction. They planned not for victory, but for extinction. And they did it all with calm faces and steady voices. Like it was just another job, just another problem to be solved. June looked at him with those dark, patient eyes. "Your people are safe now, Elder. The Krath will never threaten you again." Torim tried to say thank you. The words would not come. June nodded as if he understood. "We will stay for a few days," he said. "Help with recovery, then we will leave." He turned and walked away. Torim watched him go. In his mind, a single thought repeated over and over. They could do this to anyone. They could do this to us. And there would be nothing we could do to stop them. Part 5. The Understanding. 1 month passed. The Vallani homeworld began to heal. The fires stopped burning. The skies cleared. The refugees returned to their cities to rebuild what had been lost. And the galaxy watched in silence. News of what had happened spread faster than light. The Krath swarm, the terror that had consumed 17 civilizations, was gone. Not defeated, not contained, extinct. 3 humans had done what entire galactic armadas could not. Elder Torim stood in the great hall of the High Council, preparing for the ceremony that would honor their saviors. Ambassadors from a dozen species had come to witness. They stood in the corners of the hall, whispering to each other in frightened voices. Torim watched them. He recognized the Makari ambassador, a tall being with crystalline skin. The Makari had closed their borders when the Vallani asked for help. Now they stood here, watching the humans with eyes full of terror. He recognized the Drell representative, a floating sphere of pure energy. The Drell had called the Vallani weak, had said they deserved their fate. Now the Drell's light flickered nervously whenever a human walked past. They all came to see, Torim thought. They all came to understand what we now understand. The doors opened. Captain Park Jun entered, followed by Lieutenant Kim Hana and Sergeant Lee Tae. They wore clean uniforms now. Their wounds had healed. They looked like ordinary people, friendly, approachable. But the ambassadors pulled back as they passed. Some turned away. Others could not look at them at all. Only the Vallani children ran forward to greet them. Hana laughed and knelt down as the little ones surrounded her. She had spent the past month working with Vallani doctors, helping them understand the medical technology the humans had shared. The children adored her. They called her the kind lady. Tae smiled as a group of young Vallani soldiers approached him. They saluted in the human style, a gesture he had taught them. Pell was among them. The young soldier stood tall now. His eyes were clear. He had found his purpose. Jun walked to where Torim waited. He bowed slightly, a gesture of respect between equals. Elder Torim, thank you for this ceremony. It is not necessary, but we appreciate it. It is very necessary, Torim said. You saved our species. You saved our children. We will never forget this. Jun nodded. Your people are kind. We were happy to help. The ceremony began. Torim spoke of the darkness that had threatened them, and the light that had saved them. He spoke of sacrifice and courage and hope. The Vallani in the hall listened with tears in their eyes. But Torim noticed that the alien ambassadors did not cry. They watched the humans with different eyes, calculating eyes, fearful eyes. After the ceremony, there was a reception, food and drink and music. The Vallani celebrated their survival with the joy of people who had looked into the void and stepped back from the edge. Torim found himself standing beside the Makari ambassador. The crystalline being spoke in a voice like breaking glass. You have made a dangerous choice, Elder. What do you mean? The humans. You have shown the galaxy that they can be called, that they will answer, that they will solve problems in their own way. The ambassador's crystals flickered with color. Other species will remember this. They will call the humans when they face threats, and each time the humans answer, they will grow stronger, more confident, more willing to use their methods. Torim frowned. They saved us. They are not evil. No, they are not evil. That is what makes them terrifying. Evil can be fought. Evil can be reasoned with. Evil makes mistakes. The humans are not evil. They are simply effective. They solve problems, permanently. The ambassador paused. One day, they may decide that we are a problem. Torim had no answer to that. Later, as the celebration continued, Torim found Captain Jun standing alone on a balcony, looking up at the stars. The human's face was peaceful, thoughtful. Torim joined him. The other ambassadors fear you more than ever now, Torim said. Jun nodded. I know. They should. Does that not bother you? No. Jun turned to look at him. Fear keeps them honest. Fear keeps them from making the same mistakes the Krath made. Fear saves lives. And if they decide to attack you, to destroy the humans before you become too powerful? Jun smiled. It was a sad smile, an old smile. Many have tried. The Dreth Swarm tried. The Konari Empire tried. The Machine Collective tried. They are all gone now. We remain. He was quiet for a moment. Then he said something that Torim would remember for the rest of his long life. We humans do not want war, Elder. We do not seek conquest. We do not desire power over others. We only want to live in peace, to raise our children, to build and create and explore. We are capable of great love and great kindness. We form friendships that last lifetimes. We create art and music and beauty. He paused. His eyes grew harder. But we are also capable of great destruction. We choose who we protect. We choose who we save. And we choose who we hunt. Today, we chose to protect your people. Today, we chose to hunt the Krath. Tomorrow, others may make us choose again. And how do you decide? How do you decide who deserves protection and who deserves destruction? June considered the question. We ask ourselves a simple thing. If we do nothing, what will happen? Will the innocent suffer? Will the helpless die? Will darkness spread? He met Torim's eyes. If the answer is yes, then we act. We do not wait for permission. We do not ask for approval. We simply do what must be done. Even if it means extinction, especially then. Some things cannot be allowed to exist. Some threats cannot be negotiated with. Some darkness must be erased completely, or it will grow and spread and consume everything. June's voice was soft but certain. We learned this lesson on our own world, long before we reached the stars. We learned it again and again throughout our history, and we have never forgotten it. The next morning, the human ship prepared to depart. The Villani gathered to say goodbye. Thousands of them lined the docking bay, waving and cheering. Children held flowers, adults held signs of thanks. Lieutenant Hannah hugged Dr. Venn goodbye. She had given him all her research, everything she had learned about the Krath pathogen. Use this knowledge wisely, she said. And never hesitate to call us if you need help again. Sergeant Tay shook hands with Pell and the other young soldiers he had trained. Remember what I taught you, he said. Protect your people. That is the greatest honor a soldier can have. Captain June stood before Elder Torim one last time. They looked at each other for a long moment. So much had passed between them. So much understanding. So much fear. So much gratitude. Thank you, Torim finally said, for everything. June reached out and shook his hand, the human gesture of friendship. Remember this day, Elder. Remember what we did here. And remember why. I will never forget. Good. June smiled. It was a warm smile, a kind smile, because the galaxy is dark and full of monsters, and sometimes the only way to fight monsters is to become something they cannot understand, something they cannot predict, something they cannot defeat. He paused. Something human. The human ship departed. It rose into the sky and disappeared among the stars. The Villani watched it go. They cheered and celebrated. They had survived. They had been saved. But Elder Torim did not cheer. He stood silent, thinking about everything he had seen, everything he had learned. The humans were kind. They were warm. They were generous and helpful and good. And that, he finally understood, was the most terrifying thing of all, because their kindness was a choice. Their warmth was a decision. Their goodness was something they gave to those they deemed worthy, and to those they deemed unworthy, they gave only one thing: extinction. The Villani archives would record the event for all future generations. The entry was simple. We asked the humans for help. They came. They smiled. They saved us. And we finally understood why the galaxy calls them the killers. It is not because they are cruel. It is because they are kind, until they decide you are a threat to those they love. Then there is no war, no battle, no mercy, only extinction. And the children of the Villani would learn this lesson. They would pass it to their children and their children's children. A simple truth that would echo through the ages. Be kind to the humans. Be very, very kind, because they remember everything, and they never, ever forgive.